It's a little after 7 and I'm at Cult Compound Central here in DC. And they have a new sign out. Are you curious about yourself? The only thing this cult can tell you about yourself is how to screw yourself up. So it's protest time. John Boucher was a Scientologist in DC. You guys screwed him up to the point he thought he was suppressing plants, and he killed himself. Read his suicide note online. DC Scientologist John Boucher hung himself. The Scientologists had him convinced he was suppressing plants. That's an evil cult. Bad cult. DC Scientologist John Boucher committed suicide. He hung himself. His suicide note said that he was suppressing plants. That's how badly Scientology messed him up. Quentin Hubbard, L. Ron Hubbard's son, also committed suicide. Dangerous cult of Scientology suppressing free speech. Soon to be convicted, Scientologist OT7 Rex Fowler is facing murder charges. Dangerous cult of Scientology kills again. The body count continues to grow in Scientology. Dangerous cult. The only cult that I know that requires you pay for spiritual freedom. DC Scientologist John Boucher hung himself. His suicide note is online. He claimed that Scientology had him convinced that he was suppressing trees. That's a cult that makes people more able. What part of cockroach bites, puncture wounds, bruises, cuts, and lesions is the purification rundown? How does somebody get the skin boiled off their body in the Fort Harrison Hotel? How much does the course cost to learn to ignore reality? Any classes on suppressing free speech, phony police charges, anything like that going on in Scientology? The most ethical people on the planet. Scientology, the corrupt organization that attacks free speech activists, because after all, they're the most ethical people on the planet.
I applaud you, sir.
Thank you very much. Dangerous cult of Scientology will never stop free speech. Only fascist organizations attack free speech. Only tyrants are afraid of the truth. Nobody knows how to reel it in like Scientologists. Make their own enemies, and they make lots of them. Because lies, cockroach bites, and suppression do that. Yep, Lisa McPherson's puncture wounds and cockroach bites is something to smile about. Only a zombie cult member could smile at a dismembered person.
Try to get in.
Hey, let me give you a card. You can look up more on your own.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Had a member of the public who wanted some answers, and I gave him a card because he had to run. He had a call right about the time I started explaining to him what was going on. Dangerous cult of Scientology has many victims, many dead, many suicides, many people's bank accounts cleaned out. Attack free speech activists, because that's what Scientology does best. Suppresses reality. Dangerous cult, reeling it in because that's what they know how to do best. Free speech is not negotiable. Dangerous cult of Scientology attempts to attack free speech activists and fails. What type of religious organization has a paramilitary organization in it? Make sure you read Amy Scobie's book about how she was raped when she was 14 years old in the Sea Org, and your cult taught her how to cover it up. That's an ethical organization. Scientologists, the only people I know that can smirk at pictures of people bitten by cockroaches having puncture wounds in their body. Scientologists, the only people I know that can smirk and smile at cockroach bites, puncture wounds, and bruises, because that's the type of people they turn out. No more forced abortions in the Sea Org. No more suicides. John Boucher, DC Scientologist, hung himself because your cult had him convinced he was suppressing trees. How does that make somebody more able? When is the DC org going to take responsibility for John Boucher's suicide? You all had him convinced he was suppressing trees and houses. It's in his suicide note. That's what I call a cult. Any cult that would drive someone to hang themselves. Stop driving people to commit suicide in your organization and taking all their money. DC Scientologist John Boucher hung himself. His suicide note said that you guys had him convinced he was suppressing trees and houses. Scientologists, the only people I know who smirk at death. How disturbing. I will say this for any of you anonymous who are out there that are watching this video, these signs are stopping public in their track. I don't like using them. You already know how I feel about it. But it is definitely a showstopper. DC Scientologist John Boucher hung himself. Your cult had him convinced that he was suppressing trees and houses. It's in his suicide note. His suicide note's online.